Hey guys, as you can see, I'm downstairs. I've got a lot of writing work this week, but I thought we'd take a short break and talk about something computing related again. I've actually got another laptop coming tomorrow, a new laptop, so stay tuned for that. But what I would like to do in this video is talk about Apple Macs. Yes, Apple Macs. And talk about why I stopped using an Apple Mac and why I might return to one. So, I'm sure that some of you might assume that I'm just a Windows guy because I've got a Windows PC, I've got 2 or 3 laptops and they're all Windows. But I don't consider myself to be a fanboy of any one operating system. Years ago, I used to actually dual boot with Windows and Ubuntu on my laptop. And upstairs, for several years, my main computer, the one that I worked on most of the day, was a 27-inch iMac. So I was jumping between OS X and Windows and Linux pretty much on a daily basis, but Windows and OS X were the main ones that I used. I really only jumped into Ubuntu to mess about with different things. So I do like the Mac operating system, I really do like it. But when my iMac kind of came to its end, when it came to its death, because at the end, it was just too slow. It had a spindle drive, a 3.5-inch hard drive. I could have replaced it with an SSD, but it was going to be like $150 to buy the suction cups and all these different things, and then I'd have to buy the SSD. At that point, I was really at the point where I had to upgrade the computer. So I know that many Apple users are just tied into that ecosystem and they just instantly just look at whatever the latest Apple iMac or MacBook Pro is and they just upgrade to that. But I was looking at a lot of different options. Now, at that time, I was doing YouTube. I was using Premiere Pro on Windows and I was using it on the iMac. And, most of the time it was actually okay. I was running into some problems at the time, though, as far as audio goes. And I did find out there was a few different scenarios where when it came to live streaming, when it came to, syncing audio from a few different locations and putting in different mics, Windows handled it natively. Whereas with Mac, I had to go out and buy a few applications. And that is something that I have found in general, I would say, about OS X is that in Windows, there's normally a free application that you can use. In Mac, there's always a good application, but you normally have to put down, $50 or something for it, which isn't a major problem if you're using it all the time, but I just found it was a little bit more flexible with Windows. Nevertheless, I really did like OS X. But when it came to upgrading, there was a few reasons that I didn't just automatically upgrade to the latest iMac or to the latest MacBook Pro. The first one being price. Of course, the cost of using an Apple Mac, you're always going to have to pay a premium. Whether you're buying an iMac, a Mac Mini, a MacBook Pro, a MacBook Air, or even picking up an old MacBook, you have to pay a premium for using Apple. And it's the same with their phones and their tablets and everything else. Now, that isn't that bad. I paid just under $2,000 for my iMac. I used it every day for several years. To me, that actually worked out to be very, very cheap. It was a great product. I do not regret it for 1 second. And at the end, I sold it for like $300 to $400. So it was very, very cheap computing when you actually broke it down. It was fantastic. Absolutely no complaints. I was a very happy Apple customer. But what I did find when I was looking to upgrade was, one, you had to pay sometimes double to get the same performance as you would get from a Windows laptop or PC or, building your own PC. But also, some of the options were limited, especially in the laptop world where, in Windows, you're getting all these 2-in-1 devices, touch devices, 4K screens and all that. In the Mac world, it was a little bit more limited. But I just found really it came down to price. I'll be honest, the main factor was price. The fact that I could get so much more from Windows. For the same money, I could get sometimes 50% more performance from the CPU. Sometimes I would get a much better GPU for the exact same money. Or I would get the same performance as the Mac, as a MacBook Pro, etc., but I would pay half as much. And that was, I'll be honest, that probably was the main factor why I left. So, why would I return then? Why would I return to the world of Mac? Well, the laptop that's coming tomorrow is Windows, but I would like to jump back into the Mac world. One of the reasons is that I'm actually leaving money on the table by not having Mac OS or not having an Apple Mac. The reason being, I do a lot of product reviews on my blogs. I do a lot of reviews of applications and services and different things. on my blog and also on other blogs. And this year alone, I've probably rejected about several companies when they've said, oh, can you review this for us? We'll pay you, XYZ. And I've said, sorry, I don't have a Mac. And it took a while for the penny to drop for me to think, well, why don't you have a Mac? You're leaving a lot of money on the table here. Why don't you just go out and buy a Mac? And I was reminded of this last week when someone contacted me and says, we're looking for you to review this Mac application. Can you do it for us? And I was like, oh, I don't have a Mac. And then I emailed them back and said, hold for a second, leave it with me. I might actually just buy a Mac. And that is one of the primary reasons why I want to jump back into Mac. I'm leaving a lot of money on the table. So there's that side of it, the fact that I could make money from owning a Mac and I can review all these other applications. But the other reason is, as a tech YouTuber, as someone who reviews a lot of stuff on YouTube, it really is in my interest to understand Windows, to understand Linux. I've got a basic understanding of Unix from university and running websites, but also to operate OS X. Now, Linux and Unix, I use them when I need to, but I think it's safe to say that the two main operating systems for laptops and computers is Windows and Mac. Windows OS X. And the fact that I've only got Windows limits what I can do, not only with my websites, but also on this channel. There's probably a lot of fantastic applications in the world of Mac that I can't share with people on my YouTube channel because I don't have a Mac. So what this is going to do, if I do buy a Mac, is going to open up a lot of different opportunities as far as making money on my website, reviewing different things, but also just give me a better understanding of the ecosystem, the operating system, and just everything, really. I think, this is probably one of the problems with YouTubers in general, or reviewers in general. I try not to do this, but I do think that everyone kind of not closes themselves off from everyone else, but there's a lot of YouTubers and all they do is only use Apple, and they completely disregard a lot of fantastic Windows products, which I don't think is right. But I guess because I didn't upgrade my iMac, I shut myself off and only bought Windows. I guess I'm guilty of that a little bit as well. Now, the reason I'm saying that is that I've always been guilty of not buying a MacBook because they are so expensive, but maybe I should at least buy one Mac. And that's what I'm looking to do. I'm looking to buy a Mac, probably a MacBook Pro or Air, or one of the older MacBooks. Just something that allows me to tie myself into the Mac world and get an understanding of it. I am still going to be using Windows most days. I'm not going to lie to you. My PC's in Windows. The laptop I'm buying is on Windows. But I do want to return to the world of Mac. I want to get an understanding of it. I want to start using it again. And I'll probably buy something that's kind of light, a light laptop, something lightweight, but more on that later. But I'd love to hear all your thoughts on this, guys. Let me know what you think about Mac. I know that many of you are Mac users. I know that some of you hate Mac. You only like Windows. Personally, I don't think the difference is that much as what it used to be. 20 years ago, I did night school on Flash and Photoshop, and they were using Mac, and I used to hate the fact that there was no right click. It used to drive me nuts, and I really didn't like the operating system then. But several years later, it was, it'd been completely transformed, and it's probably the same today. I'm sure, I have no doubt that Mac is a much more refined system than it was, 4 or 5 years ago when I was using it every day. So I'd love to jump back into it. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know what you think about Mac versus Windows. Let me know what you think about Mac in general. And stay tuned. I'll do another video about this. I'm going to talk about different Mac laptops. One of those days. I like to talk about Mac laptops and, just what's on offer. But until then, leave a comment and I'll speak to you all in the next one. Take care.